This is my 221st day of publicly transitioning.
God love you.
If you're a MAGA watching this, I want to hear your response because I don't think you actually have one.
We've got some all-time midterm highs that should serve as red flags for the Democrats.
We don't usually go scorched earth here, but some guy over the weekend royally pissed me off, so we're going to go ahead and take care of him. Joe Biden sat down for a bunch of interviews over the weekend also, which is weird. A trans dude playing high school girls volleyball serves a world record serve. Wow, that's fascinating. And a bunch more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Ooh, live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in today. It is October 24th, the year of our Lord 2022. Oh my goodness, a bunch of stuff happened over the weekend, but there's a specific argument that a lot of Democrats out there are making that is very, very easily debunkable. But when I tried to debunk it in several instances over the weekend, just kind of tweeting back and forth with people, it got shut down, which, I'm so excited to tell you about it. One, too, because this is how they argue with people. It's terrible. And also, you get to now know the argument to be made when somebody throws this in your face. So I want to get right away with that. It is this new way of lying about the PPP loans that is making its way around the Democratic / more lefty circles, enclaves, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, we've talked about the student loan debt cancellation / forgiveness / debt transfer to other people, which is what it is. We won't go into that. Obviously, it's a huge problem constitutionally, societally. Why on earth would you bail out the people who are, quote unquote, more privileged to be able to go to college? Doesn't make any sense, but they're doing it anyway. But now, if you haven't seen this, they're trying to justify it in a way that's just a blatant, flat out freaking lie. Now, on this show, I generally speaking don't like to go after individuals, more attack ideas. And if somebody says something dumb, like, hey, this is just what they said, this is, a problem. But somebody over the weekend, in just, again, a very small Twitter exchange, made me extremely mad. So we're going to go ahead and just annihilate this guy's ideas, including Joe Biden's ideas. So I want you to watch how a bunch of your lefties in support of this student loan are trying to justify it now. They're comparing it to the PPP loan, which, well, I'm going to save that. If you don't remember what the PPP loan stands for, we'll get to that after Joe Biden explains how the two are so intertwined and how it's so hypocritical that Republicans were for the PPP loan, and some even got it, and now against student loans. This is an entire, this is almost as bad as Joe Biden saying that the Georgia voting law in Georgia was Jim Crow on steroids. Almost as bad. It's not quite as bad because that's, I think, the worst thing a president has ever said, but it's almost as bad. Watch this clip, and then we will excoriate this argument and also get to this dude who made me very upset. Watch this clip. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button down here or the little angry button. I'm furious. A little share button right here would really, really appreciate you doing so. It really, really helps us out. Watch this, and then we'll get to some comments, and then also excoriate this lying little lawyer twerp that made me mad on Twitter. Check it out.
I want to hear it from MAGA Republicans, officials who had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debts, even millions of dollars in pandemic relief loans forgiven, who now are attacking me for helping working class and middle class Americans. My team at the White House posted a video of this, folks, online. You should check it out. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she and her husband got $180,000 in business loans forgiven from the PPP program. She said it's completely unfair for us to forgive student loans for working and middle-class Americans. Representative Vern Buchanan of Florida said our plan was reckless. Guess how much he got in that program? Forgiven.
Okay, so they're trying to use the same language here, saying, well, the PPP loans were forgiven and therefore student loan debt should be forgiven. Here's the thing that everybody on the lefty side is missing. Now, I will venture to guess that they're missing it on purpose, which is a whole different thing that we'll talk about in just a quick second. But the big thing that they're missing is that the PPP loan stood for the Payment Protection Plan. PPP. What is the Payment Protection Plan? Well, when the government shut down everybody's business during the pandemic, they said, don't fire your employees. Instead, we will issue a Payment Protection Plan loan to you that will eventually be forgiven so that you can pay your own employees. In other words, when they're talking about, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene and her husband and Ted Cruz and all of these other Republican business owners got loans forgiven, why can't we forgive the student loans? Well, the PPP loan didn't just go into the pockets of business owners when they say, oh, they got millions of dollars of PPP money forgiven. You think they just got to pocket that and bought a new yacht? No. All of that money was required to go to the employees of their business. In other words, they didn't get to keep any of it. The highest amount of money, and not to get into how the PPP works specifically, but I have a pretty intimate knowledge of it, but the most amount of money that you could get per employee was a prorated $100,000 annual salary, 8-week period. So about $19,000 per employee. And all of that money went to the employee. Maybe some went to the business owner who is the employee of their own business, possibly. But at the same time, the government shut down all of their businesses, so they couldn't do business anyway. Therefore, probably justified. The student loan debt thing, on the other hand, and we've got some comments here that agree with this a lot, is saying we shouldn't have to pay debts of people who took on their own debt on their own, out of their own self-interest, and now for some reason can't pay it back. There was something on NPR last week where a student was saying, well, I just wasn't expecting to have to pay this back. Okay, well, excuse me, as a taxpayer, I wasn't expecting to have to pay your loan back. So that's the argument being made now on your lefty circles. Now, this is what pissed me off this week. And again, I don't generally go after people and individuals, but this guy royally made me upset. And I would like to point out how a lot of people on the left side of the aisle tend to deal with things. Now, look, I have a point of view, obviously. A lot of people out there, commentators nowadays, have points of view. Even quote-unquote journalists have points of view nowadays. That's fine. You're allowed to have a point of view. But here's the thing that I want to make abundantly clear to you, and I feel like I have throughout the entire time together here at the Daily Caller. I'm never going to outright lie to you. That's not something that I won't do. If I miss something, generally speaking, somebody in the comment section will say, oh, yeah, you missed this. I'll go, oh, sorry, didn't get that. But I'll never actually out and out lie to you in order to make a point. I believe that that doesn't help any of us. I firmly believe that if people are trying to make the best case for their side, lying to people in order to bolster that case doesn't ever help. Now, this is a video from some dude talking about this same PPP loan comparison nonsense, which just is not true. And me having a little exchange with him, and I want you to see the outcome of this. So check out this video of this dude who claims that the PPP loan is the exact same thing and MAGA Republicans are hypocrites for accepting the PPP loan but not student loans. And then I'll go through what happened and how I believe that this side of the aisle argues their case. Also, if you haven't already, I see a couple thousand of you watching this. I would love for this to become a bigger video, a broader video. So if you wouldn't mind clicking the little like button or engaging with the post in any way, shape, or form, let us know what you think in the comment section. Especially clicking the little share button really, really does help us out. Again, don't usually do this sort of thing. We generally try to keep things pretty civil here, but holy crap, if you're going to out and out lie to people, you should be called out for it. Watch this clip and we'll discuss on the other side. Check it out.
How many of you guys have noticed this horrifying hypocrisy from Republicans and MAGAs when it comes to fighting for working people? And if you're a MAGA watching this, I want to hear your response because I don't think you actually have one. MAGA Republicans gladly took hundreds of billions in PPP loan forgiveness. The average loan forgiven was $96,000. MAGA Republicans celebrated the $1.7 trillion tax relief given to billionaires. 83% of that tax relief went to the top 1%. But Joe Biden and the Democrats offer $10,000 to $20,000 in student loan relief off of predatory loans, and suddenly it's socialism. In fact, Republicans are so upset they're actually suing Joe Biden for giving working people, 43 million Americans, student loan relief. Even though nearly 90% of those getting student loan relief make less than $75,000 a year. So to recap, $96,000 in PPP relief, no problem. $1.7 trillion in tax relief for billionaires, no problem. But $10,000 in student loan relief for working families, now it's socialism and we have a problem. Absurd. We need to keep fighting for working families. So here.
All right, so he goes on a little bit, but I want to get to what happened after that. Okay, so he made the argument of, well, $96,000 was the average PPP loan forgiven. So Republicans got $96,000 while you won't even forgive $10,000 to $20,000 for students. How dare you? Now, of course, like we just mentioned earlier, the problem with that argument is that $96,000 on average didn't go to Republican business owners that just pocketed it. No, the requirement was the payment protection plan was supposed to go to paying employees. That was the whole thing. And also, if business owners didn't use that money to pay their employees, they should go to jail. That's illegal. That's the whole point of the payment protection plan. The entire point was to pay employees and keep them on the payroll. They didn't just pocket $96,000, you lying liar. So I tweeted back to this guy. His name is Qasim Rashid, and he is a human rights attorney, whatever the hell that is. And he has about 300,000 fake Twitter followers. I said, hold up, you're aware of the PPP loan, you're aware what the PPP loan was for, right? People, Republicans specifically, if you want to talk about that, didn't just get to pocket millions of dollars. The requirement was that it was used to pay for employee salaries. Like, you know that, right? Comparing it to student loans is just bad faith. And it is. He knows that, or at least he should. It's either ignorance or idiocy. It can't be both. Well, I guess it can be both, but it's only those two things. Either he's completely unaware or he's flat out freaking lying to people. Here's the problem with that. I don't mind, having these small Twitter engagement towards the things. I said this, and then I tweeted back to him saying, look, if you want to come on my show, this show, the Daily Caller Show, and make your case, I'd happily have you. Hit me up and we'll make it happen. Then I messaged this dude saying, yo, brother, would love to have you on the Daily Caller Show and chat about student loan forgiveness. Obviously, we don't share the same views, but I think it could be a meaningful conversation. We would keep everything respectful. Let me know. Fine. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having open discussions with people that disagree. Like that, I think that's better for the world. I don't necessarily like calling it debates, and I don't want to be mad at people. But I would love to hear different people's points of view, because I think in the end, when you have respectful conversations between two disagreeing parties, the good ideas tend to win out. Not only did he not reply to any of that sort of stuff, I go back on to see if he read the message, and it turns out I can't send him any messages anymore. So I click on his profile and it says, you are blocked by this individual. I said, what? Wait a minute. All I did was say, hey man, just so you know, this is a bad faith argument. And he didn't say, oh, I didn't even think of that, because clearly that would have been the proper response to the quote unquote facts that you're pushing. He didn't take down the post. He completely blocked me from Twitter. Now, I want to play this part of the video again that I think is the most fascinating, because he says verbatim this. Watch this and we'll continue.
Horrifying hypocrisy for Republicans and MAGAs when it comes to fighting for working people. And if you're a MAGA watching this, I want to hear your response, because I don't think you actually have one.
Okay, well, hold on. That's what really got me. He said, if you disagree with this, I want to hear your response, because I don't think you actually have one. Okay, Qasim, I gave you a response, and then you blocked me from the entire platform. So then I decided I'm going to go on Instagram, see if he posted this same video. I sent him the same very nice message on Instagram saying, hey man, would love to have you on the show, would be respectful and would like to hear your point of view, especially to get the viewers out there seeing a side that they probably haven't seen, which is totally fine. And I'm willing to do that. No response there. Then I decided, hey, I'm going to go comment on his same post because he posted that same video on Instagram saying, hey, man, just so you know, you left out this huge part. I don't know if you're doing it on purpose or you're just ignorant and not aware of it. I went to go comment that on his Instagram. He blocked all the comments too. So this jerkwagon says, I want to hear your response because I don't think you losers have one. And then when somebody tries to give a response, a very, very eloquent and well thought out and very well argued response, such as myself, thank you very much, gives him a response, he blocks it all. Doesn't allow any sort of discourse. This is the biggest problem I see in our political culture. Like I said, I have a point of view. I'm not shy about that. But at the same time, I want to be fair about things. The other day, actually, Friday night, I shared something that Michelle Obama posted on her Instagram. You know why? Because I liked what she said. Because I'm being fair about it. I don't like a lot of the things the Obamas did policy-wise. That's not the case. This particular thing that she said, I really, really liked. In case you're curious, she was at a South Chicago high school saying, look, if you work hard in this country, you can achieve the American dream. I was like, yes, thank you. That's probably one of the most conservative things Democrats have said in a very long time. And I liked it and I shared it. I don't care about party side. I care about being fair and I care about good ideas and bad ideas. I don't care if somebody on my side does some big social thing. I'm going to call them out for it. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it didn't happen. But that's for some reason what a bunch of lefties on the Democrat side of the aisle continue to do. It's not about being fair in arguments, and it's not about discussing policy until the best ideas emerge. It's about shutting people down. And that's what I think is the biggest problem here. It's not that, I don't want to sit here and rant about Twitter beefs because I don't generally care about them. Usually I just fire stuff off half-cocked and, I don't know, I think it's funny. The same way I think Elon Musk uses Twitter. But at the same time, if you're going to ignore entire sections of an argument just so that you can make your point, that doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you a smart person, and it doesn't make you good at arguing for your side. This dude is supposedly an attorney, and when I said he has 300,000 fake Twitter followers, it's because the engagement doesn't match, and that's a whole other thing. I think Twitter's full of a bunch of bots. But these fake, non-real, quote-unquote, followers on all of your platforms doesn't make you some arbiter of truth in which you get to leave out huge swaths of the argument just to prove your point. I'm going to stop talking about that because I feel like I've appropriately excoriated this dude. Which, by the way, Kasim, if you're watching, first of all, thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning into the Daily Caller live show. But I still would love to have you. Honest to God, I would be respectful and, I'd probably call you out on this sort of stuff. But at the same time, if you think your ideas are better, the door's open. Also, too, guys, if you know of any, big time lefty minds that want to come talk, the invitation is always out there. Anybody wants to come on and make their case, great. I've reached out to a bunch of people on the lefty side of the aisle, and I don't talk about this much because I don't want to, bash people too hard. But nobody on the lefty side of the aisle has ever accepted an opportunity to come on this show. There's a bunch of people on the right side of the aisle that are like, hey, can we come on? I'm like, everybody already hears your ideas. And unless you have some meaningful insight that nobody's heard, it's kind of redundant. But people on the other side of the aisle, you're more than welcome to come on the show. I'd love to have a conversation with you, especially you, Kasim Rashid. Anyways, back to a bunch of the interviews that Joe Biden sat down to. So now I want to get to just this really, really quick. Joe Biden continues to go on talking about this. He sat down with the Now This, and there was like a panel of they're not even reporters. They're just like Instagram people. It was weird. The whole thing was weird. But he's talking about the PPP loans. He reiterates the whole thing of student loan forgiveness is the same as PPE loan forgiveness. We're not going to go over that. But he does say something here that it won't blow your mind because unfortunately we're all used to Joe Biden's declining mental capability, but it is fascinating to watch. It's like watching a train crash. It's horrible and awful and terrible, and you can't help but stare. Watch this clip from Joe Biden sitting down with a bunch of rubes. That's unfair. Talking about the PPP loan. Talking about the student loans and how he passed a bill through Congress. Watch this.
The other piece, what we're trying to do is you probably you qualify for $20,000 in debt forgiveness. Secondly, if you don't have one of those loans, you just get $10,000 written off. It's passed. I got it passed by a vote or two, and it's in effect. And already a total of, I think it's now 13 million people have applied for that service.
Did you catch that? Joe Biden said, I got it passed. I got it passed by a vote or two. There's no vote. Nobody voted on this. It did not go through Congress. It didn't go through the Senate. Literally 0 people voted. That's why everybody has a problem with this. If Congress had voted this through, one, I think Democrats would lose even harder in 2024. That's beside the point. But two, we all kind of would be like, dang, I really, really hate this, but it went through the proper channels. The reason why everybody's pissed off about this is because it's an executive order. This would be the most money ever spent by a single individual in the history of the universe. Like $300 billion, just signs it off with a pen. That's not how the country works. That's why we're all upset. Yet Joe Biden, either coherently lying or incoherently babbling, said, well, I got this passed by 1 or 2 votes. Problem is, I don't think anybody watching this is going to fact check that. They might think, yeah, well, Congress passed this bill, and therefore we should forgive student loans. That didn't happen. Again, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Do you think he's just flat out lying? Do you think he forgot? Diana said he's a liar. That's fine. Tony said Biden is an incoherent liar. Kimberly says this, and this is what I actually think is quite a good argument here. Can my car loan be forgiven? Look, if you want to help people out, and I'm not for forgiving anybody's loans, regardless of whether or not I agree with them politically, but if you're going to actually help people out, it doesn't really make sense why you would give money to the people who, quote unquote, have an advantage because they went to college. Doesn't make sense why you would forgive them. You probably forgive the car loan of the single mother of 2 who's working 2 jobs. Again, I don't think we should forgive anything, but it makes more sense to do that. Bonnie says we should not have to pay for other people's debts. Yes. Let me see if I can bring this on. I can. Harvey said, I wonder how many of those student loan debt are young liberals. There's always a reason. That is correct. That is why they're doing it. It is a political stunt that will be shut down in the courts. Shoot, I want to get to this because this actually is important regarding the student loans. This is from the WAPO. And in case you're just updating you on this about the student loan thing, because I know that's a hot button issue for a lot of people around the country. A federal judge on Thursday denied the bid by 6 Republican-led states to block the Biden administration from moving forward with their plan to cancel up to $20,000 in federal student loan income, 40 million people. It goes on to say what happened exactly, but this the lawsuit to stop this very unconstitutional executive order got held up in the courts. They will be filing appeal, but I thought this was interesting. The only reason the judge said that you can't do this, Bush-appointed judge, by the way, which I hate that we do that nowadays. Anytime you talk about a federal judge, you're wondering who they were appointed by. But this judge appointed by George Bush not throughout, but said, hey, you can't do that to a case brought by 6 Republican states, saying Joe Biden can't just sign a check for $300 billion. That's not how the country works. It's clearly unconstitutional. Everybody knows it's unconstitutional. But the technicality was that they had to show somebody was aggrieved by this, meaning that somebody faced actual hardship, which is a weird thing to me. If something is blatantly unconstitutional and everybody knows it's unconstitutional, even the person doing the unconstitutional thing knows it's unconstitutional, why do we have to show somebody was aggrieved by it? That doesn't really make any sense. Anyways, that's just a short little update. There is going to be an appeal, and it probably will be, it probably will be shut down by the courts. Okay, we're going to continue on with the Joe Biden interviews over the weekend before we get to this volleyball story. This trans dude playing girls volleyball in high school set a world record for hardest spike. It's funny, but it's also not at all. This is okay. So Joe Biden did a big, I don't even know. Okay. So the dude goes 7 months without giving an interview. His last interview with a journalist was like the Super Bowl interview with Lester Holt in February. And then he gives one to Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes, then Jake Tapper of CNN, and then some dude, I don't even know who this guy is, on MSNBC. And then this like panel, like all within like 2 weeks. Like I don't understand the planning behind that. If anything, I would have had him out in front of the media way before the midterms. Now that the midterms are on, hide him in a closet. But anyways, that's the strategy. But he's asked on whether or not he's going to run again. And the answer is what the answer is. But he like briefly loses consciousness. And the reporter like even says like, hello? Watch this clip. Like, what do you think happens here? I'm like baffled as to how this works. Okay, check this out and we'll talk about it on the other side. This is bananas. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button, the little share button. Would really appreciate you doing so. Anyways, check it out.
I have not made that formal decision, but it's my intention. My intention to run again. And we have time to make that decision.
Dr. Biden is for it. Mr. President. Oh.
Dr. Biden thinks that
It's just up. What? Look at this again. What happens here?
Dr. Biden thinks that.
Hold on.
Mr. President. Oh.
Sorry, did you fall asleep? Can I wake you up?
Dr. Biden thinks that my wife thinks that we're doing something very important.
So there's that. He was on his. I'm trying to think if we should play this. All right, watch this next clip. This is just him on that same interview where they're walking and talking because there's a couple comments that I want to address here that I thought are kind of interesting. Watch this really quick. Is this normal? But if you're watching this, it's just like it's a weird, like nobody acts like this. He's talking about Kamala Harris. Check it out.
The Vice President of the United States, Vice President Harris. How's she doing? You're almost 2 years in. How's she doing?
She's doing great. She is first of all, she's smart as hell. She has a backbone like a ramrod, and she has enormous integrity. And but if you take a look out there, there isn't any public figure that is, 60% favorable ratings. I mean, most of but she is doing a great job, and she is really, really thoroughly informed, and particularly on areas of foreign policy. And
okay, that's about it. I would have loved for him to ask, "Oh, is she super informed and doing a great job on the border?" No. A lot of people saying, so Scott's talking about the student loan thing, says, I think the courts will ultimately find this totally unconstitutional by an executive order. That is correct, Scott. I agree with you. Gina is not so charitable. She says, he always lies. He doesn't even know what telling the truth is. Yeah, that's the problem. Now, I wanted to get to this comment because I thought this was interesting because this number has been floated around by a bunch of your lefty media outlets, especially your big mainstreamy media outlets, talking about Trump lying. First of all, if any politician is lying, I would not like them to do that. But there is a difference between lying like that guy Kasim was doing on the internet and like Joe Biden is doing, and spinning. Now, I'm not advocating for or letting any politician off the hook for lying, but somebody said this. Stephen Adams said, you were fine with Trump lying over 30,000 times in 4 years. Okay, so hold on. Let's break that down a couple different ways. Again, like I said, lying is different. And if you can prove that it's a blatant freaking lie, it's different than trying to spin things politically. I've said this number of times on this show that Nancy Pelosi is incredibly talented at what she does. And I don't think a lot of times she just flat out lies. She understands that she's going to get caught in a lie and then spins the truth in a different direction. And she's good at it. I disagree with her all the time, but she's good at spinning. The whole idea of, I think it was like the Washington Post came out and said, Trump lied 30,000 times or something dumb like that. Like, all right, dude, you mean that he didn't agree with your side of the aisle? Like, get out of here with that. Did Trump tell the truth all the time? No. Did every president not tell the truth all the time? No. That is not the role of the president. The president doesn't the president doesn't share everything with the American people. That's not how that job works. But at the same time, the idea of fairness is what I'm talking about, and this whole number that the Washington Post came up with is just comical. So, yeah, dude, if you're, I hope you get some help with your ideology. So there's that. Let's see. Many other comments that I think are interesting. This is actually what I think. Christina says, "OMG, this is so painful to watch. Poor man." Yeah, like it. I don't know. It's sad in a lot of ways. I don't want to see aging people being addled with mental decline have to do the job of the president of the United States. It's not, I don't know, not cool. Anyways, here's shoot, we got to go. We got to move. Watch this. This is like a 7-second clip from this Now This thing. He's talking to, just holy moly. Watch this clip and be amazed with how far off the rails the country has gone as a whole. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button down here and the little share button. Would really, really appreciate it. Helps us doing so. Oh, also, there's been a couple comments about stars. I don't know what those are. Bob says, are you getting stars, which I think is donation things to this page? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Thanks, Bob, for pointing that out. But also, the like button and the share button really, really do help us. Anyways, watch this like 12-second clip. Check it out.
This is my 221st day of publicly transitioning.
God love it.
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. As a moral question and as a legal question. I just think it's wrong.
Okay, so Joe Biden is now on the record saying that he doesn't think states should intervene in giving kids hormone blockers that will disrupt the rest of their life. Whether you choose to agree with that or not, that's just factual. Giving kids hormone blockers is something that Joe Biden doesn't believe states from a moral or legal standpoint should intervene with. Okay, so there's that, and which leads us to this. This is the last thing that we'll get to today. Shoot. Do we want to get to the whole thing today? Yeah, we will, just because there's so much stuff that happened over the weekend that I want to talk about tomorrow. There was a big profile piece on some rich, snobby heiress in the New York Times that says, I want to be taxed more. Tax me harder, daddy. She said in a big New York Times piece that we want to get to. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to get to, so we'll do this even though we're running over. Some dude is playing volleyball with the girls, the high school girls, and I thought this was funny. Funny not because this girl got hurt, because I don't want to see people getting hurt. That's not what I want to do. But at the same time, it's funny to see how people try to play this off. Watch this clip. It's kind of weird to watch, but I don't know. It's some dude playing high school girls volleyball and spiking the ball straight into some poor sophomore's face. I don't know if she's actually a sophomore, but some high schooler's face. Check it out. Yeah. So, not cool. Not cool to have some dude playing high school girls volleyball. But what I thought was fascinating, what was interesting, some of the Twitter responses were trying to justify this. Some dude tweeted this in response to this video. He said, I did some research. The ball was going 70 miles an hour. Typical best spikes by women are 100 miles an hour plus. She was just in an ideal position, receiving a ball 30% slower than the fastest spike women could give. So he's making the case, well, women spike the ball generally 100 miles an hour. This was only going 70 miles an hour. Okay, here's the problem with that. It's just factually not true. This person, I think, given that volleyball is much bigger overseas where they use kilometers, I think was looking at the wrong system of measurement when he was looking at how fast serves go. This particular serve was going about 70 miles an hour, and the fastest woman's serve, I think in history, was like 116 kilometers per hour, which is about 69.5 miles per hour. So the world record women's volleyball serve was slower than this high school dude who's playing volleyball with girls. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. The paradox of, well, I did some research on my own. Somebody commented back saying, yeah, you should have researched harder because what you said is not true. So there's that. We won't get to the midterm polls today. Shoot, we want to talk about the San Fran toilet. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff to talk about tomorrow. Oh, the China thing is nuts. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but go check it out. There's a video floating around the internet. The New York Times has it. A bunch of other people have it of the former Chinese leader getting escorted out of the room by the current Chinese leader. What is going on there? Nobody actually knows. Anyways, we'll talk about all that stuff tomorrow. A bunch of stuff, again, like I said, happened over the weekend that we couldn't get to today because some jackwagon decided he was going to make me mad on the internet. But we'll get to all of that and more tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate all of you sticking around watching for the show every day. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Getter, Truth, Ibble, all of the social media platforms. I don't use some of them a lot. I should, but I don't know. I'm lazy. You can find me there. Last thing. We were supposed to be in South Dakota doing a comedy show in Brookings, South Dakota Wednesday. That has been postponed. If you, for some reason, are watching in South Dakota and we're planning to attend that event, don't. But keep an eye out. We will be rescheduling that in the future. And then also talking about a Kentucky tour that we're doing next month. So anyways, appreciate you watching, tuning in. See you same place. Same time, different place. We'll be in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona at the TPUSA studios tomorrow doing the show. Same time, though, on Facebook, Twitter, Getter, YouTube, Instagram, all of the platforms that you're watching on this morning. See you then. God bless America.